You may have learned in school that the Johnson County War involved a group of hardworking cattlemen forced to take matters into their own hands to stop rustlers the fledgling government had been unable to. But there's another side of the story. The author of a new book on the subject proposes that this was really an invasion of mercenaries hired by cattle barons to kill settlers trying to live off the open range. Author John Davis joined Wyoming Signature Stuff Lockwood to talk about his new book and how this history concerns Wyomingites when it comes to conflicts going on right now.
What was the Johnson County War?
Well, it's not strictly defined, but the way I define it is a series of events in which big cattlemen killed little cattlemen, is what it came down to. It began, I believe, on December 1st, 1891, when two men were assassinated by an assassination squad that was employed by the Wyoming Stockgrowers Association. The real excitement happened, though, in April of 1892, when 50 men came out of Cheyenne, first by railroad and then riding up there. And there were 25 who were hired guns from Texas, and there were 25 local cattlemen, well-to-do cattlemen. And their announced mission is that they were going to kill rustlers. They had a list of 70 people, 70 men, that they were going to shoot or hang. As it turned out, they ran into Nate Champion, and he frustrated them to the point that the whole country could rise in arms and surround and capture the cattlemen, and they did. Later on, there were, of course, a series of judicial actions which didn't go very well for the prosecution. So,
well, I mean, so a part of it, right, are these outside mercenaries, right,
yes.
sort of a paid army. But then there was a significant element of Wyomingites, right? Large Wyoming ranchers,
yes.
right? Wealthy,
yeah.
well-educated,
yes.
seemingly rather decent men. One of them who really caught my eye was W.J. Clark, right?
Yeah, me too.
He seemed like a pretty nice guy, all in all.
Yeah.
And so he heads out on an expedition to lynch and to assassinate his fellow citizens.
Yeah.
What is it about? I mean, what do we get out of this book in terms of human nature? What happened to Clark and some of these others to turn them into killers like that?
It puzzled me that Clark did that, because I knew of an episode in which Clark's brother-in-law had drowned, and the whole community rose up. And he even put an advertisement in the paper saying that, "I hope I can help you in your hour of need." And then he joins this army to come and kill and lynch people. I don't know. I think that, and I tried to answer it a little bit, but I'm not a psychologist, but I think that it had a lot to do with other kinds of allegiances, friends, to other cattlemen. Whatever they were, they overrode good sense sometimes.
Do you think there was kind of a compliance, a kind of an obedience to authority going on that might have pulled in Clark and some of the others?
For some of them there were some of the top hands, the foremen, some of those people were involved. But the big cattlemen, I think that they were very close. They had similar life experiences. They had similar perspectives in a lot of ways. And there were other ways in which they were tied well together, the famous Cheyenne Club. Mm-hmm. And in some form or another, they perceived the world as we, small group, versus all of those bad guys. I mean, the president of the Wyoming Stockgrowers Association even said that the majority of small cattlemen were thieves.
Did the Wyoming Stockgrowers Association, did the big cattlemen, did they really believe that rustling was that bad, or was that a great excuse for this, covering up some of the losses they had taken from weather and some of these other things? So did they really think that this was necessary, or was there something else sort of going on and motivating this attack on small cattlemen and farmers?
Well, I think they believe both. That is, once you get a bunch of people who share a similar perspective, and I'm thinking right now of the air traffic controllers screaming in each other's face, thinking they were right. Well, that ended in total disaster. That there's a group dynamic that's involved. But at the same time, when people, they had to talk to people like their lawyer, who just said, "This is nonsense. There is not a bit of evidence against Nate Champion. You call him a king of the rest, it's just nonsense." So some of them were sophisticated men who understood that there were a lot of different motivations. That's a hard question to answer, but I came to the conclusion that given the nature of human dynamic, say with political parties or with whatever kind of group arrangement, that there were certainly some of them that did believe that.
So let's I always like playing what-if games with history.
Yeah.
What if, right? What if they don't bog down, right? And suppose they race through Wyoming and all 70 on their list, right, are taken out. Is history written any differently?
Oh, my goodness, it would be written incredibly differently. One of the things that they were going to do, and think about this in a democratic society, is they were going to kill the 3 county commissioners and replace them with men who had better thinking. Now, I mean, this is not a South American country where we had a coup with a junta. This is democratic America in the 1890s. It was. And so think about that. If they'd been able to stage that kind of thing, the kind of statement it made about American democracy. And we had a governor down there who was supporting them through it all. And what would he do? He looks up there and here these men are sitting on top of the hill up in Johnson County. I don't know what would happen, but it's a staggering thought.
Is Thomas Hobbes right? The reason we have government is because left to our own devices, the strong brutalize the weak. I mean, does this sort of do you think cast a spotlight on human nature and shows what happens in the absence of governmental control or social control?
Under certain circumstances, such as late 19th century Wyoming, where you had complete autonomy almost. Huge opportunity, people coming in and investing huge amounts of money in cattle and gaining enormous control and enormous power. Under circumstances like that, there's danger that the powerful corporations during that time, of course, had enormous power, will grind down other folks. Democracy is a messy, hard thing to handle. There's a constant tension between our offering opportunity and addressing abuse. You constantly have to tune it. There's a constant tension. I think it goes throughout our history.
This balance between individual freedom and government constraint.
That's right.
And
we experience it today.
And what's a good example today that would pull
I
in
don't know.
that
I think we're going to get
tension?
into politics. We get into
No,
that, but it still comes there.
But there's
if you
some
think about
important
it.
lessons, I think.
The question, obviously, BP comes to mind. We wanted BP to go out there and get us a bunch of oil. And yet, in retrospect, you think, well, maybe we weren't quite as careful as we should have been to balance some of the downsides of some of this. And I'm not a politician, and I don't mean to get involved in that, but I do think that a healthy America continues to have this continued tension. We're a terrific attraction to the rest of the world. Ambitious, bold people come here. Great. That's a wonderful thing. But again, you have to constantly be aware of the perils and constantly guard against abuse.
Well, John, thanks for coming. I guess the bottom line is in a democracy, you're never done.
It's true. That's a good way to put it.
Thank you so much for visiting with me.
All right.
Davis's latest book is Wyoming Range War, the infamous invasion of Johnson County.